Welcome. In this explainer, we're going to dive into a really critical shift for any team or organization, moving from a culture that just rewards the appearance of work to one that actually fosters genuine, sustainable movement. We're going to unpack the architecture of a culture that's built on what we call presence-driven leadership, an approach that really prioritizes authentic progress over all that performative effort. So let's get into it. It all starts with this one fundamental question. Is your team truly in motion? Making progress on the things that actually matter? Or is it just busy? That distinction right there between those two states, that really defines the health and the entire effectiveness of your culture. So first, we have to diagnose a really common problem. We call it the performance trap. And this is a dynamic that I think a lot of us recognize, that subtle, unspoken pressure to constantly look productive, even when real progress is totally stalled. And this quote, I think, just nails the core of the issue. It's an obsession with being impressive instead of being in motion. You see, when the image of progress becomes more important than progress itself, we end up creating this huge energy leak, just a slow, constant drain on the vitality and the real potential of our teams. This obsession leads to something we can call performative busyness. And this is what happens when a culture just mistakes activity for actual results. It's the back-to-back meetings, the flurry of emails, that constant sense of urgency, all of which can create this powerful illusion of productivity, while what it's actually doing is draining people and leading them straight to burnout. So here, you can really see the two paths a culture can take. On one side, you've got an image-driven culture. It's all about appearing busy, and that just drains energy. But on the other side, you have a motion-driven culture, which focuses on genuine progress. It prioritizes alignment, making sure our actions are actually connected to our purpose. And that, believe it or not, generates energy. The question for any leader is pretty clear. Is your culture designed to perform, or is it designed to move? Okay, so if the trap is performance, what's the way out? Well, the solution really rests on one single core principle, one that reorients our entire approach to how we work. Movement matters more than image. That's it. That's the foundational idea. It's a principle of discernment for any presence-driven leader. And when you make this your North Star, it really starts to change how you see everything. How you run your meetings, how you give feedback, even how you define what success looks like. All right, so with that principle in mind, we can start to build a different kind of system. Let's explore the first part of this new architecture, creating what we call sustainable performance. You see, when leaders start rewarding real movement, not just visible effort, they change the entire energy flow of the system. By getting rid of that burden of always having to maintain a facade, they allow all that wasted energy to be redirected toward genuine impact. And this creates what we call a space for becoming, an environment where people can actually express their potential instead of feeling like they have to constantly prove their worth. Now, the next piece of this architecture involves rethinking a word that, let's be honest, often carries a lot of weight: accountability. We need to shift it from a tool of surveillance to a system of genuine support. And the contrast here is just so stark. Accountability as surveillance, that's punitive. It's a policing tool that creates fear and forces everyone into self-protection mode. But accountability as support, that builds community. It fosters a sense of belonging and helps people navigate that messy, uncertain middle part of any meaningful work. This is the huge difference between a culture of reactivity and one of shared responsibility. So how do we actually build this? Well, it comes down to a clear three-part framework. First, you have to design your systems to foster belonging and resilience. Second, you consistently reward aligned action, not that performative busyness we talked about. And third, and this is so crucial, leaders have to give explicit permission for people to try, to iterate, and even to be wrong. That psychological safety is the absolute bedrock of supportive accountability. Now, when you combine this sustainable performance with supportive accountability, the result is this profound internal shift for every single person on the team. And this, really, is the ultimate goal: unlocking human potential. This transformation is deeply personal. It's a shift from always proving our worth to finally expressing our potential. All that energy we once spent defending our competence can now be redirected to making a real impact. The fear of criticism gets replaced by the psychological safety needed to grow. It's all about honoring human dignity, creating a space where each person can connect with their own internal authority and contribute with genuine freedom. So we'll close with a reflection prompt and a little micro practice for you. As you go into your week, just ask yourself this: where can I reward motion over image? And then find one opportunity, maybe in one meeting or just one conversation, to deliberately acknowledge genuine progress, not just polished performance. That single act of discernment, that's how this cultural architecture gets built, one moment at a time.